Hello students. So in today's lecture, we will see how the particle stiffness and the strength influence the behavior of soil. So the overall deformation of the soil for at a very small stream is mainly due to the elastic deformation at the point of contact of individual grains in a soil particle or entire soil mass. And you can see here that this deformation or this elastic properties of individual particles, they influence the entire particle assemblage, and also that gives us the stiffness of the entire soil particle. So this grain to grain contact stiffness imparts the overall stiffness or the strength of the entire soil. And another important thing is this the modulus of the single grain, which is the particle contact stiffness, is always greater than the overall stiffness or the modulus of the soil. And here you can see the various elastic properties of minerals as well as rocks. The Young's modulus, the shear modulus are given in gigapascal, and the Poisson's ratio is also given. And you know that for very soft material, the modulus value will be very less, and it will be having a high Poisson's ratio. Whereas you have a very stiff material like you have a rock, then definitely the modulus value will be very high, and it will be having a very low Poisson's ratio. So just refer this table to get an idea about the modulus of various minerals. Now moving on to the strength, I already in previous class also, while explaining the morphology, I told that the mechanical strength of granular material largely depend on its crushability. That means if the confining stress or the normal stresses are very high, then definitely there is a chance of these grains getting crushed, and that will lead to a decrease in the strength of the particle. So at very high stresses, the compressibility of sand will be very high, and due to this crushing obviously, and as a result the curvature, the curve of the curve, which when you plot the void ratio and the log of the stress, that is the E log P, or the compression curve, which we always plot for the clay soils, it will have the similar nature of that of a normally consolidated clay, and that is because of this crushing, and it will undergo a kind of creep, and it will behave like normally consolidated clay. So under a constant stress, what happens is that the particle keeps on crushing, and finally you will see a creep in the soil, and that is why you can see that for a large constant stress, the deformation will be very high, and that is why it will behave like a normally consolidated clay. And this actual crushing of the entire soil mass, it actually depends on the strength of the individual grains, and as well as the way in which the stresses are applied on the entire soil assembly. And another thing is that this particle strength greatly depend on various other factors such as the mineralogy, the size of the particle, the shape of the particle, etc. Here you can see the various types of sands and the sizes, as well as the tensile strength at 37%. I will explain what is that. Then the mean strength for based on various studies. Just go through this to get an idea of the figures and facts of various types of sands. And the 37% tensile strength indicate that the particles do not fracture. 37% of the particles in the sand do not fracture at that above that stress. So that is what is called this 37% tensile strength. That means if you apply a maximum stress on the soil, it is a condition where 37% of the particles do not fracture. So that particular tensile strength is recorded, and this is the mean strength, average strength of the soil particle. Now let us discuss about the soil fabric. So the fabric of a soil is a major state variable which influences the behavior of soil. The term indicates that it is actually the arrangement of particle group, as well as the pore spaces in soil, and it also includes micro and macro features like fissures, root holes, etc. Now let us discuss about the fabric of coarse grain soil. So we know that particle sizes which is greater than 0.02 mm, they will settle. Definitely they won't move in suspension in the liquid, and definitely they will settle because the flow velocity is not sufficient to keep them in suspension. Definitely they will settle, and there won't be any force of attraction between these particles, and they won't stick together. Such particles, definitely we know it is sand grain particles or coarse grain particles, and these fabric, they are single grained because there is no any cohesion or any attraction between the particles. So which are actually the single grain fabric? Sands and gravel are obviously the single grain fabric. So how they exist? They exist either loosely packed or densely packed. So also it is possible that natural deposit of sand or gravel deposited by water or wind, they can be more complex, but for simplicity, let us assume that sands and gravel always exist in a loosely packed state or a densely packed state, and this is because they are single grained and there won't be any kind of cohesion or any stickiness together, unlike clay soils. So here in this figure you can see how the grains are packed. So this is a figure A. Here you can see it is kind of a loose packing, and in B you can see it is a dense packing, and C, it is kind of honeycomb. It's a honeycomb packing, obviously not that strong or stiffer compared to the dense packing, but compared to loose packing, this honeycomb packing is we can provide better strength to the soil mass. As I explained, and under some conditions these granular soils can have very open or honeycomb fabric and obviously when the honeycomb kind of fabric will have very high porosity and the density will be low because a lot of voids are present, but that grain arches, they can sustain considerable static load when the fabric is not disturbed. But however, if the entire soil is influenced by some dynamic loads or some vibration actions, or when the soil is flooded, definitely they will collapse and the soil won't be able to take sufficient stresses. Example is loess, which is a wind deposited soil. It predominantly consists of silicious particles. It has a honeycomb structure. Now moving on to the fabric of fine grained soil. Fine grained soil, here we refer, definitely it is a clay soils, particles less than 0.02 mm, and they have very high surface area. The high surface area is mainly because of the small particles, small size of the clay particle, and also their plate shaped nature, and they are always associated with a negative charge. So there is significant force of attraction between the particles, and also they have that stickiness because of the diffuse double layer and that associated negative charge. They have a sticky nature, and that is the reason why when they form particle association when they settle in suspension. Now the clay particle associations can be divided into four. First one is a dispersed association, that is there is no face-to-face association of clay particle. Next is the aggregated association, that is the face-to-face association of many clay particles. Then it is flocculated, that is the either it is edge to edge or edge to face association, and last one is deflocculated, that means there is no association between the aggregates. So here we can put dispersed association as well as deflocculated under one category, and this aggregated and flocculated under one category, because in dispersed and deflocculated it is more or less kind of there is no sufficient association between the particles. So in face-to-face association, we always have very thick and large size particles, whereas you go to edge-to-face and edge-to-edge association, it is like a card house structure, and they are quite voluminous, but they can be highly compressible because there is sufficient volume, because sufficient void space is there, and when you compress, considerable volume change will occur in clay soils which are EF and EE association, that is edge to face and edge to edge association. So as I explained earlier, this particular note here indicates that the flocculated and aggregated always aggregated association is always indicate a multi-particle assembly, whereas the deflocculated and dispersed indicate a single particle or particle group acting independently. So that is what I have already explained in previous slide, and when you go see the figure coming in the next slide, you will get better understanding. So in figure A, you can see this individual particle platelet interaction, all are individual platelets, and in B it is actually silt or sand size particle. You can see how the interaction is. Already I explained in the fabric of coarse grain soil. And when you see the figure C, it is kind of group interaction between the clay platelets. And when you go to figure D, it is a kind of cloth, silt or sand particle interaction. And moving on to E, it is a partly discernible particle interaction. Okay, so here in this figure, just closely have an idea about the individual clay platelet interaction as well as the clay platelet group interaction, that is figure A and figure C, which is the major predominant figures considered, because we are discussing with the behavior of fine grain, that fabric of fine grain soils. Now I will show you some of the sketches of various fabric proposed by various scientists. So first one is the one proposed very early by Carl Terzaghi. That is, this is actually a fabric, how the kind of fabric is modeled for a fine grain soil. So here just go to the sketches. Here it is, the sedimentation process is shown here in the sketch A, and in B it is actually the fabric of flocculated clay. So this is a more zoomed view of flocculated clay, how the clay particles are, how the fabric is arranged in case of flocculated clay. And next is the one proposed by Casagrande, that is for undisturbed marine clay. So this is this sketch indicates the sedimentation process. So here you can see these are the flocks of colloidal clay, this is the clay particle, and these are the silt grains. And what happens after considerable amount of time, that is after the compression and the densification of the sediments, what is happening. So this is how the structure looks like. So here you can see this image is 4 times 10 raised to 4 times magnified, and this is a structure of undisturbed marine clay. So here these hashed particles, you can see here, these are the clay particles, and these bubble like structure, small particles, kind of transparent particles, they are the flocculated colloidal particles of low degree of consolidation. And then you have more fine particles, kind of honeycomb like structures, which are actually flocculated colloidal particles of high degree of consolidation. This is mainly due to the local concentration of pressure. That is why they have these kind of small particles. So these are the larger particles indicate the flocculated colloids of low degree of consolidation. Consolidation is low, whereas the smaller particles indicate the colloidal particles of high degree of consolidation, and these larger particles, they are the silt grains, and the silt grains is actually applying pressure on this flocculants. Now another fabric proposed by Lambe, this is actually for undisturbed clay deposits again, and here you can see how the deposits are arranged. And another schematic diagram of clay proposed by Tan. This is another way. You can see that in all the figures the clay particle are always having a plate-like structure, even if we assume that it is spherical for calculation while doing the sedimentation analysis and all. You can see this, that always the clay structure is assumed as a plate. Now another aspect you can see here, how this microfabric system is schematically shown, and it is as per the study from Young and Sheeran and Bush in 1973. So what they inferred that is the clay particles at the very micro level, it will be the domain. That if you here you can see this particular clay particles, that indicates the domain, and this domain together gives the domain group together to form a cluster of clay particles. So this is the domain where you can see individual particles, and they later on form together to form a cluster. That is this magnified figure here. This 2 indicates the cluster, and this cluster together form to have a PET. That is, PET is the clay particles, actual clay particles. So the very micro level particles form the domain. Then from domain it becomes a cluster, and finally the cluster turns to PET. So this is PET. That means this 3 indicates the PET. And then you have the silt grains. That means, as I shown here also in this proposal where Casagrande has proposed, you can see here there are huge particles among this clay, that is the silt grains, which are larger than the clay particles. So that is indicated as 4, that is the silt grains. And then you have the micropores and the macropores. So micropores are inside this PET, that is, this together form a PET, and you can see micropore among the PETs, as well as macropores you can see in the entire clay particle, that is slightly larger pores, like here you can see in 6 they are the macropores. So this is another schematic representation of clay particle. Just go through this and have an idea that how a clay particle is arranged. Now, to understand the fabric of both the coarse grain as well as the fine grain, we need some indices such as porosity, void ratio, etc. So I will just explain some of the indices which helps us to understand the aspect of soil fabric. So here let us discuss about the porosity and void ratio. So in very simple aspect, porosity and void ratio means they give an indication of how loosely or densely a particular soil particle or soil grains are packed. So that is, for that we use this porosity and void ratio to know the fabric of soil in terms of packing. And you can see here in the figure, this indicates the 3-phase soil diagram. You have already studied this in your undergraduate level. So this is a soil diagram where you have the soil, water and the air, and here the representation in volume is given, and here the representation in mass is given. So what is the void ratio in this soil system, and what is porosity? So void ratio is actually the volume of voids divided by the ratio of volume of voids to volume of soil solids, whereas porosity is the ratio of volume of voids to the total volume of the soil. So definitely the loose soils always have very high porosity and void ratio, whereas the dense soil have very low porosity and void ratio. So that is understood. Also, when you consider saturated soil, water content also have significant impact on the compactness of soil. So what is water content? Water content is the ratio of mass of water to the mass of soil solids. It is also expressed in percentage, whereas the porosity and water ratio, whereas especially water ratio, it is expressed in decimal. You all these aspects you already know in your undergraduate level, so just brush up that aspects using your undergraduate textbooks. You can refer to KR Arora, etc. And also I will share some of the textbooks in Google Classroom, this whatever the undergraduate level as well as the PG level textbooks. So for coarse grain soils, it is usual to use a void ratio, and for fine grain soil we commonly use the water content. So to identify the soil fabric or to understand the aspect of soil fabric, we use the void ratio concept for coarse grain soil and water content for the fine grain soils. So this void ratio aspect and water content already have great influence on behavior of soils, but when it comes to the strength and stiffness, you can have better correlation when it is related to some density rather than this void ratio and the water content. So for coarse grain soils, relative density is used as a index for the fabric, whereas for fine grain soil, liquidity index is used as the index. Now what is relative density? So it is actually the difference of the maximum void ratio, that is the void ratio in the loosest state, to the actual void ratio divided by the void ratio in the loosest state reduced by the word ratio in the densest state. So this ratio is actually the relative density. So if E is the word ratio in the current situation, E max minus E divided by E max minus E minimum will be the relative density, where E max is the word ratio in the loosest state and E minimum is the word ratio in the densest state. So I understand what the important thing which you need to understand here are this E max and E minimum. They are actually the characteristics which depend on the particle size, shape and the size distribution, and for a given sand they will never change. This E max and E minimum, it will never change for a given soil, whereas the present condition of the word ratio as well as the relative density, they are the state variables. For example, if you have a very loose sand and if you compact it, definitely the word ratio will decrease and its relative density will increase. So that is actually the state that indicates the state of the soil. For densest state you have a very high relative density and a very low word ratio, whereas in the loose state you have a very low relative density and a very high word ratio. So word ratio and relative density are always a state variables, whereas the maximum word ratio and the minimum word ratio of the sand or this coarse grain soil, they are the particulate variables. That means they depend on the shape of the particle, size of the particle, the size distribution, etc. Now moving on to the fine grained soil, the index for understanding the soil fabric is the liquidity index. So what is liquidity index? It is the water content minus the plastic limit divided by liquid limit minus plastic limit. So you already know what is liquid limit, plastic limit, all those aspects. You must refer to your undergraduate level if you want to understand the broader concept of these theoretical aspects. So I recommend you to go to the under UG level and to have some idea about the basics like the Atterberg's limit, the grain size distribution, relative density, and also the simple relationships like word ratio. All these things you must be very thorough to understand this particular subject, the mechanics of geomaterials, because we will be discussing a lot again in the coming modules. So from this equation you know that liquidity index expresses the water content of a soil in relation to the plastic limit as well as the liquid limit. So what is liquid limit? I will just give a brief idea. What is liquid limit? Liquid limit is the limit at which the soil can exist in the liquid state. Okay, and what is plastic limit? Plastic limit is actually a transition stage where it changes from solid, semi-solid state to solid state. So that is plastic limit. So obviously the plastic limit value is always less than the liquid limit value. So here in this equation what happens if this particular natural water content, if it is equal to the plastic limit, then the liquidity index is 0. That means the soil is not in any way anymore in the liquid state. So that is why IL is 0. Now what will happen if this natural water content is equal to the liquid limit? Then this IL is 1. That is the soil is advancing towards a liquid state. So that is the implication of this equation, liquidity index. Okay, again similar to the coarse grain soil, here also the liquid limit and plastic limit, they greatly depend on the mineralogy of the clay particles as well as the soil particulate characteristics of the soil grains. So they are the particulate characteristics, the liquid limit and the plastic limit, whereas the natural water content of that particular clay and the liquidity index, that is actually the state variable. That is if it is in a very stiff condition, the IL and W will be different. That means for a stiff clay this natural water content will be less, whereas for a very soft clay this natural water content will be high. So depending on the water content this liquidity index will vary. So that is why this W and IL are the state variables, whereas the liquid limit and the plastic limit are the particulate characteristics. Now another important aspect to know the soil is the degree of saturation. So I already explained you that soil always exists in three-phase system, that is the soil, solid particle or the soil particle, then the water, then the air. So when the entire air body is filled with water, then we call it as a fully saturated soil. Where when the entire water is expelled, then only air remains, then it is in the dry state. And if all the three are in a soil mass, then we call it as partially saturated soil. So the existence of soil is like in a saturated condition, in a dry condition, as well as a partially saturated condition. So what is degree of saturation? It is actually a state variable which expresses to what extent the voids of a soil can be filled with water. So the degree of saturation can be defined as the volume of water by volume of voids multiplied by 100. So degree of saturation is also expressed in percentage. So for fully saturated, we know that S is 100%, and for a dry soil, S is 0%. Let us see how this degree of saturation is helping us to know the fabric of soil. So how this degree of saturation is influencing, let us see a partially saturated soil. Here, let this figure indicates a partially saturated soil. So definitely in partially saturated soil, there is always suction due to the negative pressure. That means when you have a partially saturated soil, definitely there will be negative pore water pressure, which will lead to some kind of suction, and that suction will lead to some apparent cohesion. So if you take a partially saturated sand, that apparent cohesion will be there because of negative pore water pressure, whereas in the case of fine grained clay soils or silty soils, you can also develop high values of suction, and as a result they will impart some apparent cohesion. So this suction and apparent cohesion is lost when the soil is fully submerged, because when it is fully submerged, then all the voids are filled with water. So this apparent cohesion will be lost when the soil is fully saturated. So in this aspect we can know how the soil will behave in terms of degree of saturation. So that is all for today's lecture. In the next class we will discuss with some effective stresses and various influence of stresses on the soils, etc.